the creator of the most successful digital entertainment company in Vietnam, Pops Worldwide, which now owns around 90% of the music content in Vietnam and boasts total monthly viewers of 1.6 billion. She is an entrepreneur by nature, a figure skater by talent, a lawyer by training, and above all, a Vietnamese at heart. She is Esther Nguyen, the only Vietnamese among 27 great female tech entrepreneurs across Asia who have made a great impact on the regional digital ecosystem.
The gorgeous lady you have just met is no one else but Esther Nguyen. This American lady of Vietnamese descent has come all the way from the United States, going against all odds, her parents' expectations, to create one of the most successful digital entertainment companies in the country. So today we're lucky to meet her on Talk Vietnam to ask her all about the opportunities and challenges and her amazing journey with Pops Worldwide. Hello Esther, thank you very much for joining our show.
Thank you, it's a pleasure being here.
So I know that you're a very busy lady with a lot of stuff going on. Can you tell us, how's it going these days with all your projects and life in general?
Well, it's been very busy. I mean, work is great. The company is flourishing and expanding across the region. Personally, it's wonderful. I just had my first baby, so I can't complain.
Obviously, you were born and raised in the United States. Could you share with the audience of Talk Vietnam, the young Esther?
I grew up in the Bay Area in California. I grew up as a figure skater, a competitive figure skater. So competitiveness and discipline was always in my upbringing. And so I loved figure skating, but I also balanced that with helping out with my family. I was always working with my parents in their small business and helping the family, cooking dinner, making sure everyone was well taken care of.
So just like all the other well-behaved and nice little girls, right?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I still had my bad side.
Well, as a young lady, what did you know about Vietnam back then? Could you share with us?
As growing up, my knowledge of Vietnam was still very limited to what my grandparents or my parents told me about in terms of their growing up, their life stories of my grandmother when she was little, my father cutting school, and my grandmother disciplining 7 children. So it was quite limited to family experiences as opposed to the country itself. But I had a very open and positive mindset about the country, even early on.
So was the idea of moving to Vietnam for work, of establishing a business here in Vietnam, was it ever there, or when did it sort of dawn?
If someone were to have told me I would be living in Vietnam when I was young, I would say, no, that's a crazy idea, no way. I mean, the Bay Area is a wonderful place to grow up and to live. My family and friends are there. But when I first came to Vietnam in 1994, I was just so mesmerized by the country. It's so dynamic and so much energy and full of potential and opportunity. So I fell in love with the country. And I didn't actually think about moving here until I thought about starting the Pops. And even then, I didn't think I would be here for so long. I'm coming around to my 10th year.
Oh, wow.
Esther Nguyen was born in Michigan and raised in San Francisco. Her parents moved to the U.S. in 1975, where they operated a gas station and a mini market. Graduating from the University of Southern California in 1998, Esther started selling cosmetics online and then went into green technology. She returned to school, earning a law degree from Golden Gate University. Never losing the entrepreneurial itch, in 2007, Esther decided to leave the U.S. for Vietnam. While working for an IT company, she stopped by a developer center in Hanoi, realizing the huge opportunities her parents' birthplace had to offer. Unfazed by her mother's opposition And inspired by music streaming services that just launched in the US, Esther used her legal knowledge and Silicon Valley experience to set up a copyright protection business for music and entertainment content in Vietnam.
Before you came to Vietnam, you also had some entrepreneurial sort of experience. Obviously, you did some business stuff back in the States. Can you share with us some stories about this?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the entrepreneur spirit my whole life. My parents are entrepreneurs, so I knew very early on I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I started in college. I started my own e-commerce website back in 1998.
Wow.
So it was very early on that I knew that's what I wanted to do, is to take an idea and build it up and create something out of nothing. So I started an e-commerce website, and I've started a company that took agriculture waste and turning it into raw materials. And some were successful and some were failures, but it was all part of the life lesson to be successful today.
And I'm also aware that you do hold a law degree, correct?
Yes.
So what happened to this law degree, and why couldn't it sort of like overshadow your spark, your passion for entrepreneurship?
I love studying law. I love the legal minds, the analytics behind law, but the reason why I went to law school in the first place was my father was a lawyer, and he always wanted me to be a lawyer. And so I said, okay, I'll do this for my father. But I think in hindsight, it's probably one of the best decisions for me, because every day we're dealing with legal issues. Every day I encounter lawsuits or piracy and things that I've studied in law school. So I think in hindsight, it was one of the best decisions for me to go to law school. I think so I don't regret it. I would never become a lawyer because it just uses the wrong side of my brain. I think as an entrepreneur, you see things and you see everything as an opportunity. As a lawyer, you see things as maybe as reducing your risks, trying to control the risks. So it's very different aspects of thinking.
But what actually sparked your idea of setting up a business here? What opportunities did you see?
At first, it wasn't the business idea of Pops. I think first it was more of the culture that really sparked the idea of Pops. When I first came here, one of the things that I really took notice was that Vietnamese people love music. Everywhere you go, you can find live music. Everywhere you go, you hear music. And so I knew that had to be the cornerstone of what Pops was all about. I also fell in love with the energy and the dynamics of the country. The young people were also they are very dynamic. And so everything about Vietnam and the people, more so the people. And I wanted to work with them. I wanted to be part of the community here. So that's what really drove me to come back and start Pops.
What was the beginning like? And how big was the office? What were the original group like? And can you tell us a bit about this?
Well, I came to Vietnam with 2 suitcases and a box. My whole life, kind of minimalized to that. But I came here and I didn't have an office, but we found a very small room, enough to fit one table and maybe 8 chairs. So we all just sat really closely together. I had a very small team, and this team, a couple of them are still with me today. So I think that's the most heartfelt part about this is, starting the company with people that are still with me today and have seen the whole journey in the past 9 years.
Back in the late 2000s, when Esther Nguyen returned to Vietnam, the music industry was developing fast. The boom of internet in the country at that time provided artists a new channel to expose their music to the public. but nobody was protecting the copyright of this digital creative content.
Piracy was rampant. There wasn't a place for users to go online and search and share and discover music legally. And even when a fan becomes a fan, there isn't a place for them to buy their favorite track, their favorite album. So the only option for them was to download illegally.
Tại thời điểm đó thì hầu như các nghệ sĩ họ rất là mơ hồ và họ không hiểu, vì trước đây họ chỉ là kinh doanh trên nhạc chờ hoặc là họ đi diễn show và họ có cái xe. Tuy nhiên để mà làm ở trên YouTube thì họ cũng chẳng biết YouTube là như thế nào, họ chưa vào cái trang YouTube nữa.
Và mọi người mới chỉ nghe đến những cái bản quyền cao xa hơn, ví dụ như là phải mua phần mềm máy tính hay gì đó. Mọi người chưa bao giờ mọi người nghĩ, rất là nhiều người chưa bao giờ nghĩ là mọi người sẽ phải trả tiền hoặc là sẽ phải nghe những cái tác phẩm hoặc là những cái gì đó có bản quyền, nó khá là xa lạ.
Sensing an untapped opportunity in Vietnam's digital market, Esther opened Pops Worldwide, a distributor of digital creative content and a provider of copyright services. She had no concrete product, no single demo, but used a PowerPoint presentation convincing investors to give her money toward her own startup company in Vietnam.
Mình hay gọi đùa với Esther là nữ hoàng PowerPoint, có nghĩa là bán PowerPoint rất là giỏi, làm PowerPoint rất là đẹp và khi mà trình bày rất là thuyết phục. Và chỉ bằng PowerPoint mà chị đã thuyết phục được nhà đầu tư bỏ tiền triệu đô để mà đầu tư. Mình nói vui thì là như vậy, nhưng mà cái sâu xa ở đây là chị bán được tầm nhìn của mình. Chị nhìn được thị trường trước được cả 9-10 năm. Những gì mà Pops làm thì mãi khoảng 1-2 năm sau người ta mới bắt đầu bắt chước, họ làm theo.
Obviously, at the time, because everything here was so raw in the industry, how did you sort of convince them that, you know, what you guys were doing would one day pay off?
It took a long time. If one meeting didn't go, then we would schedule a second meeting, a third meeting. I think what it was the persistence. And I advise every entrepreneur to maintain persistency. Be persistent. Always maintain what it is that you believe. And so I think being persistent with all the artists and showing them that they had nothing to lose by working with us. They weren't, giving it away. We're just asking for a license, and they only had the upside, which is monetization, right? So I think that's what helped.
And during this process, you must have, knocked on doors, going from artist to artist to speak to them, right?
Yes.
Could you share with us some of the fondest memories that you have about, these encounters?
Yeah, well, when I first moved to Vietnam, my Vietnamese wasn't very good. I probably spoke like a 2-year-old. So it was interesting to go to these artists where they really didn't understand me, but fortunately I had a team with me, and so they would translate. But it was quite the experience going artist to artist and explaining them what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. And so some would look at me like I was crazy, but signed up anyway.
Could you share with the audience of Talk Vietnam what you've done so far to, protect copyright in Vietnam?
Well, I believe it came in 2 different waves. One, the first wave was at the beginning when we first started Pops, and we aggregated and built the awareness for copyright in music. The second wave came in 2011 when we expanded from music into long-form content, long-form meaning video content on the digital platforms. And so I think that's where we started to educate that digital can also bring in monetization, and content should be protected on the digital platforms. Otherwise, it would be everywhere and no one benefits. So I think those are the 2 different waves of changing the industry or advancing. I would like to say advance the industry.
and it has certainly paid off, correct?
Yes, it has.
So how has it sort of paid off for you guys, and how do you think, what kind of difference do you guys think that you've made in the music industry here in Vietnam?
I think what's paid off is that we have been able to gain the trust of our artists and our partners, our reputation. I think that's the most important, because it takes so long to build up and gain from our artists and our partners. So we really try to maintain that, so that, because we knew we wanted to be in this for the long run. And we couldn't cut corners anywhere. And so that was most important, is gaining the trust and educating our artists. And so because of that, we were able to decipher who owned what in terms of licensing, which song rights belong to which artists. And so having the largest library, licensed library, was very important to us.
As YouTube's first certified partner in Vietnam in 2012, Pops has now helped Vietnamese artists protect their copyright, reviewing the content through YouTube's identification system. And once violations are identified, the system reports and removes the videos re-uploaded without permission. Pops Worldwide has gradually changed how Vietnam's entertainment industry works. In the past, Vietnamese artists struggled to connect with record labels, having to use their own resources to release their content. Now they only need to contract with Pops to get their work seen and heard and their copyright enforced.
Hiện tại thì tất cả những live show Trường Giang thì Bob cũng bảo trợ về thông tin, về truyền thông, về kinh phí một phần, rồi cũng ưu tiên để subscribe ở trên kênh Trường Giang, ở trên đó có chị chủ tịch là chị Esther. Hồi xưa Trường Giang làm với những hàng là chỉ là người dắt mình đi gặp, rồi mình sẽ trình bày với những hàng, rồi những hàng sẽ nói với mình, sau mình sẽ về họp riêng với chị nữa, rồi chị sẽ là người support mình với những hàng và tạo cho những hàng thêm niềm tin về mình, bởi vì lúc đó người ta không biết mình.
Bob đã luôn luôn bảo vệ chúng tôi từ tất cả những sản phẩm quảng bá của tôi trên Bob, và hay là bản quyền của tôi trên Bob. Cái thứ nữa là nếu có ai mà xài những cái sản phẩm của tôi bậy bạ trên tất cả các nơi thì Bob sẽ tháo xuống, hoặc là Bob sẽ bảo vệ chúng tôi tuyệt đối. Thì chúng tôi rất thích cách làm việc của Bob.
Ngày vội vội vàng đi qua, câu chuyện ngày ngày càng đi xa, trên bàn tin có lẽ anh hơi ngây ngô.
Đây là một cái đối tác mà Trúc Nhân có thể dành cái tâm huyết và tình cảm của mình vào trong đó. Và sau rất nhiều những cái sản phẩm được Bob bảo trợ, cũng như là bảo vệ cái sản phẩm của Trúc Nhân làm sao đó cho khỏi có bị up lại để share cái lượt xem ra, thì Trúc Nhân cảm thấy trong một khoảng thời gian vừa qua mọi thứ nó rất là tốt, không có lý do gì mà Trúc Nhân không hợp tác với Bob cả.
To date, there have been 1,500 content creators across Vietnam and the world, representing all genres including music, comedy, kids and family, news and entertainment. And that number is only expected to grow.
What do you think are still some of the existing issues that are currently happening in the media industry here that you guys would like to tackle?
I think still every day is an ongoing battle about copyright. When a user embeds an artist song into their home video and uploads it onto any video platform, they should understand that that content is part of the artist, and if the companies like Pops who's protecting the copyright, then they should understand that, and that we're not trying to steal or take the glory away from the user. And I think there's still some education that needs to happen for that.
How much damage do you think the current piracy situation in Vietnam has caused to this artist?
Oh, every time that there's a download, or every time there is a illegal streaming, it hurts the artist, because then the artist doesn't get to see that monetization. If they don't have that monetization, then it's harder for them to create their next piece of work of art. It just makes it more difficult to create new and more innovative content, right? And then the whole industry hurts, and the whole industry falls behind the rest of the world, right? So we want to support the artists so that they can be more creative, more innovative, and so that it gets global attention.
So, being in your position, obviously you know many of these guys and you've met these guys a lot. Have you ever had a talk with them about what they think about piracy and, because maybe all these guys might want to know how they actually think about the celebrities' products being stolen. What do they actually think? Can you share with us?
I think it's a double-edged sword. There are some artists that really pay attention to this and really is against the whole Piracy Act and work very closely with us to help protect their works of art. And then there's the other category of artists who say, well, it's okay as long as I become famous and a lot of people know who I am. I don't care how they get the content. And so it just depends on what stage an artist is at in their career, I would say.
So you're saying that some of the artists are actually not aware of the importance of copyright in Vietnam, correct?
I don't know if they're not aware or they're at the moment ignoring or put it aside to gain some attention or let as many people see their content as possible. Right.
So do you think that promoting awareness of copyright among artists as well is just as important as promoting awareness among the users?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's important to let an artist know that they can still get their content out to many people as possible, but also to monetize and to protect their copyright. It's not one or the other. They can have it all.
It's been nearly 10 years since Pops Worldwide was established. The company has grown from 1 person to 200, spanning 3 offices in Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and Bangkok, attracting the best workers, essential for any creative business.
Mình làm việc ở Boss là một môi trường rất là sáng tạo và năng động, được học hỏi từ các đồng nghiệp và học hỏi từ sếp mỗi ngày, cũng như là tự mình nâng cao kiến thức và kỹ năng cho mình. Thì là một cái người trẻ thì mình nghĩ đây là một cái điều rất là tất yếu cho tất cả các bạn mà luôn tìm kiếm một cái mục đích để phát triển trong sự nghiệp của mình. Thì đây là một cái nơi xứng đáng để mình đóng góp và phát triển.
Part of the charm of Pops Worldwide, a consistent company culture. When starting the business, Esther and her colleagues established the 4L principle for everybody in the company. Learn. Always learn new things at any time and any place. Labor. Work hard to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Laugh. Laughter is the key to a happy working environment. Love. People live to love and share. To maintain this principle, Esther sets the example. Her professionalism and enthusiasm inspire young employees. Her warmth and friendly demeanor in daily conversations keeps them from finding new jobs.
Điều đầu tiên khi mà mình bước vào Pops, mình ấn tượng đó là Pops không phải một công ty mà Pops là một gia đình. Ở nơi đó có chị, có anh, có em và mọi người đoàn kết với nhau, làm việc rất là vui vẻ với nhau. Chị Esther thật sự là một người chị của mình. Chị hướng dẫn và chị luôn luôn quan tâm tới từng nhân viên một. Đó là điều mà mình khó có thể thấy được ở những công ty khác.
Esther has on her side the people who are willing to go through the most difficult times with the company.
Có những lúc mà tới cái ngày trả lương á, thì sếp còn đang xách vali đi đâu đó để xin tiền ai đó để cầm cái tấm séc về để mà trả lương. Các manager họ phải giữ hình ảnh cho công ty là chung một xuồng với lại Esther, cho nên là nhân viên thì được nhận lương trước, manager thì ngồi đợi Esther đi xin tiền về rồi nhận lương sau. Rồi thậm chí là đôi khi thiếu chịu khách hàng rồi nhân viên cho sếp mượn tiền lại để mà thanh toán trước rồi sếp sẽ trả sau. Thì thật sự nếu như không coi nhau là như là một gia đình, không coi nhau như là những người thân, coi nhau như là những người mà thật sự là cùng chia sẻ khó khăn, cùng ngồi chung thuyền với nhau thì chắc có lẽ là đã không làm được những điều như vậy.
I work with Esther on a daily basis. As the first time that the boss is so available for all the questions that I have. So I feel privileged by that. And outside of work, she's a very sweet person, She's extremely warm and do have like a big heart for everybody who's working for the company as well as outside. So like for example, we've been to an orphanage outside of Ho Chi Minh, and to see her interacting with the kids, you can definitely say that she's a person with empathy.
For Esther and her colleagues, each charity trip teaches them about life and the need to show sympathy and care for the unfortunate. It also strengthens the bond between staff members, so when they return, they continue to devote themselves to maintain Pop's worldwide position as the leading digital entertainment firm in Southeast Asia.
So the team is the most important factor. Very cool indeed. But this also means that you have a lot of responsibilities, right? You have the responsibility for the employees, you have the responsibility for the investors. How have you been able to sort of like balance all this together?
Yes, I do believe that, I'm not taking care of just the 200 people that come to work with me every day. It's my team, but plus their spouses and their kids and their parents. They are part of the Pops family. So yes, that's a very big thing that I think about on a daily basis. That's what makes I think about when I make decisions for the company. The investors, they understand, and so they're probably secondary to me. It's more of the people that come to work with me on a daily basis I think about.
So speaking of the Pops worldwide family, where do you think the family stands now at the moment? Where do you think it is in the industry at the moment?
We have a very dynamic young family, Pops family. They're full of creative. I say to them that we have full of leaders, young leaders that can take the industry to the next level, and so I want to foster that energy and potential. So that's one of the reasons why I came to Vietnam, actually, is to create the opportunity for the young people to shine and do things that they may not had the opportunity to do.
So when you were aiming to do that, when you were aiming to create all these opportunities for young creatives to reach their full potential and showcase what they got, did you ever think that you guys would make it this far?
No, not at all. I mean, if someone were to tell me I'd be in the entertainment industry producing some of the top kids' content, no, I would never have imagined that. So you never know where life's going to take you, I guess.
So how does it feel now to be where you are at the moment?
Oh, I still think we're the underdogs. I still think we are, we still have a long ways to go. I think of us as still a startup, even though we have 200 people. I run the company like a startup because I think in the digital world you need to be fast, you need to be innovative and flexible and adaptable. If not, we just can't keep up.
So you're saying that the startup attitude is one of the main sort of ingredients of your recipe for success, would you say?
Oh yes, absolutely. Because the digital world is moving so fast, changing so fast. So we also have to be that way. Every day is a new learning experience. Otherwise, we can't keep up with today's technology.
Speaking of the fast world of global media, now you're planning to take Pops to the next level to become the largest company in the sector in Southeast Asia. Can you explain more about this?
Yes, I think in Vietnam we've really we're doing a lot in the entertainment space, and I look around in our neighboring countries, and I think there's so much for us to do there as well. So we started in Thailand. We've opened an office in Bangkok, and we look to expand into Indonesia, Philippines. So I think that what we've learned here in Vietnam, what we've done here in Vietnam, can be expanded and capitalized in the neighboring countries.
Until now, Pops has grown to be the largest multi-channel network in Vietnam, officially becoming one of the 50 biggest multi-channel networks in the world. To flourish, monetizing video content through content aggregation and curation, cross-promotion, and advertising. With 1.6 billion views each month, 25 million subscribers across 1,000 channels in network, Pops has already had 42 silver play buttons and 4 gold play buttons from YouTube. In 2017, Pops Worldwide is set to exceed 30 billion views and more than 4 billion hours of video on YouTube alone. Aside from programs to support Vietnam's next generation of creators and producing original content, Pops also established partnerships with international media companies to localize their content to Vietnamese audiences. With Esther's eyes set on making Pops Worldwide the largest digital entertainment company in South Asia and Southeast Asia, the company has been able to bring Vietnam to the forefront of the field.
You know, despite all these great responsibilities, all these great challenges, what do you think is sort of like the reward that keeps you going, that drives you, to keep fighting, to keep working so hard?
Well, I think it just stems from my personality of just the entrepreneurial spirit. I think every day is just a reward, being able to go to work and be with the team and overcome different challenges and achieve new milestones. So that in of itself, and being able to see our popsters or to go and create the next great content or achieve their personal goals, I think that's what's also quite rewarding for me.
Now, on that note of the entrepreneurial spirit, what have you sort of noticed about the growth and the evolution of the entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurs sector in Vietnam?
Oh, I believe everyone seems to be an entrepreneur here in Vietnam. It's contagious, I think. Everyone is an entrepreneur out in the streets, next door, even within the company. You know, they're always coming to me with new ideas and new things that we can do, and I always foster that spirit or the new ideas, even though it may fail, but that's okay as long as we try. So I'm not afraid of trying new things. So I think Vietnam, just in terms of entrepreneurial spirit, it's really contagious, I would have to say.
You know, being an entrepreneur means failing a few times, falling down a few times. Have you fallen? And
oh, yes.
How did you overcome
this? Yes. So you must fall, in order to move forward.
To rise again.
Yes, to rise again. So one of my investors / board members, early on in the Pops life, we were struggling. It was hard. We weren't sure if I'd have enough cash flow for payroll. He said, "Oh, don't worry." He starts laughing. "Esther, you're gonna almost die a few times. It's all part of the journey." And so I will never forget him saying this to me. And it's true. We've almost died a few times, but it's been part of the journey, and it makes the journey so much more worth it and rewarding. Especially now where we are.
So during these times that you've almost died, what are some of the most valuable lessons that you learned from these circumstances?
Never give up. I think never having that attitude and being persistent and being creative in terms of problem solving. I think those are the 3 things that are very important as an entrepreneur.
As someone who has been in the industry for so long and gained quite some success here, what sort of advice would you like to give to the younger guys that may want to become big or to make a difference like you?
I think there's a few things I like to share. One is focus. Stay focused. Have your idea and keep going. Don't get distracted by all the other different opportunities, because Vietnam offers so many opportunities and so many things that they can do. But I would say to the young people, focus and maintain their reputation. Do things right. Don't shortcut. I think that's really important. And last is to find yourself an advisory team or a board of directors or people who can mentor you. I have a wonderful group of advisors who have been with me from the very beginning and who has advised me from the tough times into strategy and where we're going tomorrow. And so I advise all the young entrepreneurs to find people that they trust, people who have been there and done that and who can help them get to where they want to go.
Esther Nguyen is part of a growing number of young overseas Vietnamese, now playing a vital role in the country's growth. It's estimated in Tan Son Nhat International Airport alone, every day there are about 100 young overseas Vietnamese checking in. Around 30,000 young overseas Vietnamese, just like Esther, coming to visit their parents' home each year, considering Vietnam as a new land of opportunity. Typically armed with expertise and education from their country of birth, many serve as a bridge between local and foreign companies seeking to expand in the Vietnamese market.
You're a Vietnamese and family plays an important role in every Vietnamese's life. What did your parents think about your move to Vietnam, and how has that sort of changed now after all the success that you've achieved?
Well, my parents didn't take it very well, and it was due to my own doing. I had planned, raised money and talked to investors and planned the whole business and had a set date for moving to Vietnam, but I didn't tell my mom until 2 days before moving. And so she thought I was just going on another trip to Vietnam, but I sprung the news 2 days before and she wasn't too thrilled. And so she went a little crazy on me. She said, "You go, don't come back." So I was like, okay. I think I really shocked her. But over time, they've overcome that. Every day they ask me when I'm coming home and when I'm moving back. Little do they know, what I've really built here. And so in their eyes, I'm still their little girl who should be living next to them. That's the traditional side, right? The oldest daughter should live next to the parents. But so far they've been very supportive and come and visit us, and so it's been nice.
Having been in Vietnam for over 10 years now, do you feel more Vietnamese by any chance?
I've always felt like I was Vietnamese. I don't know what that really means, more Vietnamese. I know more about my culture. I know more about where my parents came from and why, they raised me a certain way. I think it all makes sense to me now than it did when I was growing up. So in that sense, I can understand more who my parents and my family are. And so I wouldn't say I'm more Vietnamese, but I understand more about my culture.
So now that you're a mother too, how do you think you can sort of balance the amazing stuff you've been doing with, taking care of the 3-month-old baby at home?
Work-life balance is quite hard. I don't think I could have been a mom when I first started the company. So, any female entrepreneur that is a mom early on, it's hard, I would have to admit. So I think women entrepreneurs have a double whammy where they have take care of the work, their startup, and their family and child rearing. So I think it's a lot for women, but I do admire other women entrepreneurs, and I hope I can follow in the paths of other great women entrepreneurs.
What does the future hold for Esther?
I would love to see Pops all over the region, that everyone knows who Pops is and that we can deliver wonderful content entertaining content to the people around the region. And I hope to continue working with creative people. And
Okay,
that's it.
fantastic, and I wish you the best of luck with your future vision and your projects as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and that has wrapped up this edition of Talk Vietnam. We hope that you enjoyed a little insight about the importance of media ownership as well as copyright here in the country. And for those young people out there, don't be afraid, seize this opportunity and be creative. That's it for now. I'm Michael Liu, and until next time.